from the Hudson Media Group studio. This is Talking Politics, and I am New Jersey's premier and now 7-time award-winning journalist, Top 100 Latino via the Latino Spirit online magazine, and the Garden State's most beloved and factually accurate Hispanic conservative. Yes, it's me, Fernando Uribe, hoping out a wonderful Columbus Day weekend. Yes, as we honor the discoveries of Christopher Columbus and what he means to the discovery of the New World. And certainly I hope you all enjoyed a very festive NFL weekend. Obviously, all the locals doing well, as my Dallas Cowboys. And, of course, the baseball playoffs are right around the corner. But here, folks, politics never takes a break. There is a lot to discuss, so let's get started. Here's what I'm thinking about right now. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, when he's not taking long naps or cognitively declining before our very eyes, went to a press release last week talking about looking to forgive previous marijuana arrests. So let me just give you some details here, which really makes the story quite significant. So a shout out to Ariana Figueroa with the New Jersey Monitor for a sort of very lengthy piece about President Biden looking to pardon all federal offenses for simple marijuana possession and to review decriminalization. Now, again, the president announced last week that executive actions would pardon thousands of Americans with prior federal offenses of simple marijuana possession. Now, Biden then called on governors, respectively, to follow suit with state offenses for simple marijuana possession, saying that, quote, just as no one should be in a federal prison solely due to the possession of marijuana, no one should be in a local jail or state prison for that reason either. Well, someone might want to remind, Sleepy Joe, as well as his vice president, who incarcerated more people ever in the history of California, and nobody did it better than Kamala Harris, but that 1994 crime bill that at the time Senator Joe Biden was responsible for writing, that put a lot of people of color behind bars because of marijuana offenses. So it's kind of interesting that, while the President of the United States might forget this, we all have receipts on his sort of, hypocrisy or his lack of recollection. But again, let me proceed here. The President also directed U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services Xavier Barraca and Attorney General Merrick Garland to review how marijuana is classified under federal law as a Schedule I drug, the DEA's most dangerous classification that includes substances like heroin and LSD. Now, the executive order by the president is looking to pardon simple possession, which includes also the District of Columbia, as well as people convicted in the federal court system. The president said last week, again, quote, sending people to prison for possessing marijuana has upended too many lives and incarcerated people for conduct that many states no longer prohibit. Now, what's interesting about the president of the United States saying this, and again, shout out to Ariana Figueroa, writing about this for the New Jersey Monitor, is that, folks, with less than 30 days to go before arguably one of the more consequential midterm elections in our lifetimes, it's interesting for the president to sort of take this approach, right? When, he and members of his party, when they've controlled both chambers of the federal legislature, right, the Congress, and have occupied the White House, they've never once tried to, again, deschedule a drug like marijuana on a federal level. But of course, hey, Democrats are very vulnerable. They're almost easily going to lose the House in just a few weeks. And of course, there's a very good chance that right now, as it sits at a 50-50 Senate, well, it might lean red after November the 8th. So, hey, if you want to engage in damage control, why not try to throw that out there? Just like student loan forgiveness, which we all know, folks, is not going anywhere. No one's loan's going to get forgiven, okay? It's going to be a very, very small percentage of people. So right before the midterms, when the president's looking to essentially buy votes with a proclamation like that, that's what he's doing here. Now, let me be very clear also about my position on this. I've never smoked marijuana. I don't care to. I never will. I know some of you at home might be like, well, Fernando could probably, smoke a little weed to not be as uptight as he usually is. Well, that's not really who I am, folks. Now, I've never really cared about marijuana, as I said. Again, listen, if that's your vice, if that's what you like, my vice is a good glass of wine and chasing female tail on the weekends. I mean, that's what I like to do. Again, to each his own or her own. But this is what's interesting about marijuana. And I've talked about this before on this program. I've written lengthy papers during grad school about it where, ladies and gentlemen, we all know marijuana is nowhere near as dangerous a substance as we all know that nicotine and alcohol are. And for whatever reason, the federal government has chosen to sort of look the other way about the dangerous effects that both alcohol and tobacco have on everyday Americans. Now, again, I don't smoke marijuana. I don't care to. But I do understand, because I read, the medicinal benefits of utilizing marijuana. I know tons of people out there. Again, it's October. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. As you know, that I am a staunch advocate for the American Cancer Society and I'm a very dedicated philanthropist. But I know plenty of people that have to undergo something as difficult and as painful as chemotherapy, or individuals that suffer from chronic pain. Well, guess what? Utilizing medical marijuana and utilizing it responsibly is going to, A, help open your appetite, which is what chemotherapy harms, right, during that process. And also, if you're suffering from chronic pain, why get dependent on Percocet and opioids or other pain medication, which I know doctors like to prescribe like it's candy. But if you use medicinal marijuana to treat chronic pain, that works. Okay, so I've always been an advocate of that. Now, have I always been a fan of outright legalizing recreational marijuana? It's not really for me. I understand the economic benefits of it. I also, again, as having a graduate degree in criminal justice, I also understand the importance of criminal justice reform as it pertains to marijuana. Way too many people, poor white people, poor black people, poor brown people, have been unnecessarily incarcerated throughout the years because of marijuana. I talk to my students all the time about it, okay? Right before 2020, right before New Jersey decided to put it on a referendum and legalize it statewide, I always tell my students, be very careful when you're out smoking marijuana or if you have any on you. It could ruin your life because of the way it's classified and the way the criminal code, again, stipulates it here in the state of New Jersey. I've told them repeatedly, you could lose your financial aid, you could lose your right to vote, you get sentenced and have a criminal offense on you, on your criminal record, and when it comes time to look for a job after graduation, you might be limited. So you have to be really, really careful. I always say that to my students all the time. Now that marijuana has been legalized recreationally in New Jersey, that's no longer applicable. But I say it consistently where it's not for me. Again, I understand the criminal justice reform component and the economic boom that it'll create. Opening up dispensaries, selling it. Hey, listen, if you want to own a liquor store or a marijuana dispensary, chances are you're going to make more money with a marijuana dispensary than you will with a liquor store. Now, again, liquor licenses are different than having a license for a dispensary, and those are topics for another day. But folks, what really bothers me, again, is that people can't see through the president's clear ploy to try to win over votes, again, just under 30 days from a midterm election, when he knows that he's not very popular, inflation is still a serious problem, and while many Democrats on the national level want to fixate on just stupid components of politics. Pronouns, bathrooms, statues, whether or not Christopher Columbus, offends us. Folks, that's not what everyday regular Americans care about. Whether it's white people, black people, brown people, whoever. It's kitchen table issues. Okay, it's living room issues. It's talking about, hey, how am I going to feed my family come the next pay period? How am I going to be able to, fill up my gas tank to go to and from work? And I get it that many on the left are having a party in their pants about, oh my God, well, gasoline has dropped for the 10th consecutive week. No, you idiots. It should have never been this high to begin with. But again, you'd rather dwell on virtue signaling and participate in all the climate hysteria when we all know it doesn't exist. Okay? When we all know we should be more self-reliant on energy than relying on hostile forces across the Atlantic or across the Pacific for petroleum. But again, that's where many mainstream national Democrats and many on the left, all these activists, all these woke fools, all these social justice clowns, all these compassion mongers get it wrong. And again, I'm here to get it right for you. Folks, this is nothing more than a ploy. And of course, it doesn't help when you have garbage journalists in the state of New Jersey sort of perpetuating this narrative about, oh my God, this is so great. And of course, someone I like to pick on, of course, is little J.J. Lassiter from Insider NJ. So of course, in one of his most recent boring-ass columns, right, for Insider NJ, he writes about the dark Brandon rises when it comes to pardoning federal pot crimes. Now, of course, the president last week tweeted, as I've said before, no one should be in jail for just using or possessing marijuana. Yeah, it's funny he didn't think about that in the 90s, nor did his vice president when she was attorney general. Today, I'm taking steps to end our failed approach. Allow me to lay them out. So, of course, Jay Lassiter, because all he's good for is really smoking weed. It's not like producing good journalism, and even by his own admission, he knows he's not a journalist anyway. But of course, why not virtue signal and why not just have this hysteria about, oh yes, marijuana, we should pardon marijuana crimes and that's going to tip the midterms, just like reproductive rights. No, folks, it's not about marijuana expungements. It's not about reproductive justice in New Jersey, which we already know exists. It's the kitchen table issues that I talk about every single week on this show. Can you afford your grocery bills? Can you afford to fill up your gas tank? Can you afford to take your family, on a road trip even though the summer is now officially over? Can you afford, I don't know, some amenities that you'd like to in your home? I don't know. Why can't you? I don't know, inflation? Wages aren't rising at the same time as inflation is? These are the issues that matter, folks. And coming up on November the 8th, you need to vote accordingly. On a national level, we need to turn the House and the Senate red. That's the only way that this cognitively declining president is going to get the message that his platform is wrong, that his policies are wrong, and quite frankly, his party is wrong. But of course, why not just sell it as, hey, listen, let's, make sure all the potheads who got arrested get their records expunged. It's not about that. It's about looking at the bigger picture. It's about looking at the forest far away from the trees. But sometimes for the left, that's not always possible, if ever at all. And that's what I'm thinking about right now. Now some local stories for your consideration. Let's start off in the Moscow city of Hoboken. And once again, a thank you to John Hines with the Hudson County Review for publishing this very important editorial. Now, the, quote, Kids First Hoboken Board of Education slate is the best choice for the school board coming up next month, according to former 5th Ward Councilman Peter Cunningham. Now, let me just read you a couple of interesting points from the editorial itself. He writes, Dear editor, dear friends and neighbors, as we ready ourselves for the upcoming elections across this country, I am pleased to see that we can expect strong civic engagement from the national level to the local level. While national politics is important, I strongly believe that local government and selecting our local officials/leadership should be guided by local issues. I think it's great and that we are lucky for us to have in Hudson County local elections that they be nonpartisan. It's not like the statewide among other counties in New Jersey and indeed most of the country. As I normally like to do, I'll focus on the upcoming school board elections since at the local level, it's all we have in Hoboken this year that's indeed nonpartisan. It's important to remind Hoboken residents that when on the city council, I fought the fight for good government, which was rooted in transparency, integrity, practicality, and fairness. Unfortunately, the guy who succeeded him, right, Phil Cohen, doesn't know anything about those words. And it's a shame, that Peter Cunningham had to step away and not run for another term, which we all know he would have won. Again, but let me get back to the very excellent editorial here. Now, while I've enjoyed my time away from local government, I have watched and witnessed with disbelief what transpired with the school board's referendum earlier this year with certain city council members as an accomplice, and I am truly disappointed. These are tactics of Hoboken's dark past to be arrogant and secretly deliberate. Fortunately, the broad Hoboken community overwhelmingly rejected this project. If we all remember, folks, it was building a new high school in Hoboken in the Midtown section. Now, that price tag was way too much, as we discussed on this program. Again, does Hoboken High School need a new building? Of course. I've walked in that building. It's kind of an old, not cesspool of a building. It's not really an asbestos trap, but it's close. It's really old. It deserves a new high school. Again, but let me get back to this excellent editorial. Let's harness that energy to bring change with healthy debate and transparency back to the Board of Education for all residents and the children of Hoboken. To help make that happen, I'm supporting Pavel Sokolov, number 6, Cindy Weingan, number 7, and Donna Megan, number 8, the Kids First slate. This team was instrumental in galvanizing the community and stopping the $330 million Board of Education referendum as it pertained to building potentially a new high school. They fought for voter enfranchisement, ethical government, and ensuring that our entire community could make an informed decision, which are ultimately the hallmark of a good democracy and democratic principles. Many residents in Hoboken were threatened with displacement, a loss of life savings, and instability due to their lives because of the Board of Education's attempt to railroad a middle-of-the-winter vote with no debate or discussion. Now, this is indeed a vanity project that tried to brush the real academic challenges under the rug and disregarded the needs and concerns of Hoboken residents and the students that need the support the most. The Kids First team has a vision of partnership with the residents of Hoboken and, moreover, the state of New Jersey. As always, please share with your neighbors and friends and let me know if you have any additional questions. Once again, thank you. Peter Cunningham, a Hoboken resident and former 5th Ward Councilman. Peter, shout out to you, man. Great editorial, and you really got it down succinctly. And this is the thing, folks, that when it comes to local Board of Education issues, that's what matters. But you wouldn't know that from the Hoboken Democratic Party, right? Led by perpetual virtue singlers, right? And, outrage mongers like Rachel Hodes, the chairperson there, as well as Philly Cohen, the first vice chair, as well as Eileen Carvalho, the second vice chair. And again, folks, this is where the bougie area of Hoboken really pisses me off. It's these sort of bougie Democrats that want to virtue signal about, oh my God, abortion's on the ballot and we have to worry about reproductive rights. No, Rachel, honey, let me tell you something. When it comes to the Board of Education, when it comes to putting the best slate forward, what matters is how the Board of Education is going to spend the hardworking money of taxpayers in the city of Hoboken. Okay? If you want to go virtue signal and bitch and moan about, reproductive justice, you don't got to worry about it. If you get knocked up tomorrow, Rachel, okay, and you need to reconsider your pregnancy, there's plenty of access and resources available to you. Okay? Planned Parenthood gets millions of dollars from the federal government and also from Trenton. So once again, if you get knocked up tomorrow, Rachel, and you need to reconsider your pregnancy, hey, not a problem. You don't have to worry about it, much less in Hoboken, much less in the state of New Jersey. Okay, if you go out on a Sunday, during Sunday Fun Day, you make some bad decisions with alcohol, and you wake up Monday morning, maybe next to someone you don't want to wake up next to, guess what? Plan B, that's available for you on Tuesday morning. Okay, but that's the thing. Someone like Rachel, someone like Phil, and someone like Eileen, they want to virtue signal. I get it, you're proud, true blue Democrats. But folks, it's not these woke, social justice, woke causes that's going to dominate a Board of Education election in Hoboken. It's about making sure that what happened in January doesn't get attempted again. And we all know that's going to happen with this administration in Hoboken, okay? Under the leadership, or lack thereof, of Mayor Ravi Bala. And of course, the minions that support him on the city council. Again, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to Peter Cunningham, a great editorial, and it just reminds us all about how local elections matter. I tell my students all the time, especially all my political science students, all politics is indeed local. And here in Hoboken, that shining example should be a stark reminder for us coming up on November the 8th. Vote accordingly. And again, I don't endorse a lot of people on this show, but when it comes to that slate in Hoboken and Peter Cunningham, they have my overwhelming support, because we want fiscally responsible adults, not virtue signalers, not compassion mongers, not woke fools or social justice clowns that want to hijack a Board of Education election and talk about national issues. Again, Rachel, Phil, Eileen, no one's talking about these woke issues that you fixate on, okay? Whatever's going on in House races isn't affecting Board of Education races. You should know better. You're grown-ass adults. In some cases, old-ass adults, okay? And you should know better. But again, shout out to Peter Cunningham, and I'm hoping that this slate does win on November the 8th in the city of Hoboken as it pertains to the Board of Education. And now let's move to Jersey City, and once again, a shout out to Aaron Morill, the editor of the Jersey City Times, for his report on this very important story. Now, apparently, a Jersey City educator was hoping to meet an underage boy in Harrison, and thankfully, he was indeed caught. Now, an educator was arrested late last week on a sexual-related charge after being lured into what he believed would be a nighttime meeting with a 14-year-old boy in the city of Harrison. Instead of meeting the young man he thought he had met on the internet, St. Benedict's Preparatory School Dean Didier Jean-Baptiste was confronted by Hunter XK, an adult and self-styled predator catcher who filmed the encounter and posted it to the Facebook and YouTube page that he manages. Now, Jean-Baptiste's arrest was announced recently by Hudson County Prosecutor Esther Suarez, and according to Suarez, Jean-Baptiste, age 54, was charged with 1 count of luring by attempt and 1 count of attempted endangering the welfare of a child. Now, in the 16-minute video, which you can again catch on YouTube, Hunter XK meets a man he calls JD on a Harrison street. He says, quote, "I'm going to give you 2 choices," he said to JD. 1, you can have a consensual conversation with me, or 2, I'm going to get the cops involved. JD asks Hunter XK for identification, threatens to call the police, and then walks away in a very hurried manner. Quote, "Call the cops on me for what? You're the one who's here to do wrong. You're trying to meet a kid. I got the evidence already. It doesn't matter if you deleted your Grindr account. I still got the chat logs," according to Hunter XK. Folks, if you're not aware, Grindr is apparently some gay hookup site where I guess maybe some of these things tend to permeate. I don't know. I don't visit that site. I never will. I don't care to, but it seems kind of shady that websites like this tend to exist. But anyway, Hunter XK followed him for several minutes, ultimately taking JD's license plate number down and the description of his car. Authorities subsequently identified JD as Jean-Baptiste. Now, Jean-Baptiste was arrested without incident at his Jersey City home and taken to the Harrison Police Department for processing, and was released on a summons based on the recommendation of a risk assessment tool in accordance with the newly enacted criminal justice reform law. He is scheduled to appear in court on October the 24th. Now, St. Benedict's Preparatory Academy told News 12 New Jersey recently that it had fired Jean-Baptiste for, quote, inappropriate conduct, and said, quote, immediate action was taken to terminate the employment of the individual, as well as ensure that law enforcement was apprised of the situation. Though no current former students were involved, and the event did not occur on school grounds, an internal investigation has already begun. First and foremost, let me just give a shout out to Hunter XK for his vigilance, for his dedication to our children, to making sure that perverts and predators like Mr. John Baptiste, and let me be very clear too, folks, everyone's entitled to their day in court, everyone's entitled to due process. But when you go on websites like this and you are openly seeking to meet an underage boy at nighttime in Harrison, which, by the way, again, no, I'm not trying to defecate on Harrison here, but not exactly the nicest place to be at nighttime, okay? Not the safest place to be. You know, it's Newark's nearby, you know, Kearney's nearby, Bloomfield's nearby. It's not exactly the safest place to go. You know, I'd rather avoid there if I can. But the point is that what are you doing there, Mr. John Baptiste? What are you doing there at nighttime looking to meet a 14-year-old boy? Are you going to go, I don't know, grab a milkshake? Are you going to Quick Check to grab a coffee? Of course not. You know exactly what you're doing. Now, as I said, I'm all for due process, innocence before guilt. I get all that. But it's really incriminating here. And once again, whether it's shows that we've watched over the years, To Catch a Predator, right? Chris Hansen, which ironically ended up being a predator himself. But these shows are very, very beneficial to parents, to teenagers, to criminal justice advocates, and criminal justice reformers when it comes to trying to catch predators like Mr. John Baptiste. Who knows how many other young boys he's gone to meet, and he just happened to get caught this time. Why Grindr allows this sort of behavior or this sort of interaction between its users, that's something that I think someone needs to raise a red flag about, whether it's the FBI Cybercrimes Unit or the state police or even the county prosecutor's office. Why are websites like this continuing to exist? We understand, folks, stuff like this happens on the dark web, and it's tragic, and it shouldn't. Unfortunately, it still continues to. But shout out to great Samaritans and great Americans like Hunter XK for ultimately hunting down this predator, and hopefully it will discourage other predators from engaging in such reprehensible behavior. Let's move back to Hoboken for another important story, and once again, thank you to Terry West from the Jersey Journal for her excellent reporting. Now, apparently a monkeypox vaccine clinic is going to be stationed in Hoboken coming up this week. Now, monkeypox cases across the United States have declined considerably, but by no means have they vanished. Now, to promote the monkeypox vaccine, the Hudson Regional Health Commission will hold a vaccine clinic coming up this week in Hoboken and another one in early November at the Jackson Street Gym. Now, the vaccine is available to men who have sex with other men, no surprise, and anyone exposed to the virus in the past 14 days. And the county has purposely planned for the clinic to open on National Coming Out Day. Quote, while we know monkeypox can affect anyone, no, and again, this is according to Mayor Robbie Balla, no, Mayor, it affects men who have sex with other men. It doesn't affect straight people like me, so let's not get it twisted, Mayor. Okay? We all know that those in the LGBTQ plus community have been disproportionately impacted. I encourage anyone who meets the eligibility to get vaccinated at this clinic to protect themselves and their community. Again, the clinics will take place from 4 p.m. until 6:45 p.m., and certainly any interested Hudson County residents can register at vaxhudson.org. Folks, this is the thing here. And here's some numbers as well. There were 720 monkeypox cases reported in New Jersey as of last week, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Nationally, the average number of new cases declined from a peak of 441 in early August to 68 on Wednesday. Folks, again, and this is where I just don't like the way certain taxpayer dollars are spent. We know that monkeypox is not as serious a problem as other viruses, right? When we know about COVID-19, you chose to get vaccinated, God bless you. I chose not to. I'm still unvaccinated, and I'm proud to do so. But again, that's of something that's a little more problematic. When it comes to monkeypox, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not trying to sound hateful here because I'm not. I'm not trying to sound bigoted because I'm not. It might come off that way to those on the left that want to look for anything to objectify and, just engage in perpetual, fake outrage. But folks, it's not straight people got to worry about monkeypox, okay? It's gay men, okay? That's the demographic that has to worry about it. Do we really need to take taxpayer dollars and open up a clinic in Hoboken? They can't go to the hospital, they can't go to a Planned Parenthood or other clinics to get these? Why do we need to use taxpayer dollars? Why, when it can be used for something else in the city of Hoboken? I don't understand this. I'm not trying to, again, I'm not trying to throw shade at gay men, but do we really need to spend money like this when we could use it for something else, especially in Hoboken? Other resources, maybe for seniors, maybe for veterans? Again, folks, monkeypox isn't a problem for straight people. It's a problem for gay men because they have sex with gay men, unprotected. Do we really need to spend taxpayer dollars on this? I would say no. But again, that comes off as hateful and bigoted. It really doesn't. It just comes off as me trying to be more fiscally responsible. And clearly, that's not what Hoboken's looking to do. But again, when it comes to virtue signaling, painting rainbows on crosswalks, or, marching in BLM, rallies, or virtue signaling, you can always rely on Hoboken and the administration, led by Ravi Bala, to always, acquiesce. And lastly, I want to remind you all about coming up on Thursday night, October the 13th, at the world-famous Son Cubano, located along the waterfront in West York, New Jersey. I'll be hosting the 15th edition of A Professor's Quest to Save Breasts to benefit the American Cancer Society and making strides against breast cancer. We'll have outstanding prizes being raffled off, great DJ music by DJ Ziggy Roman, certainly wonderful networking opportunities. You can always expect outstanding service from the staff at Son Cubano once again for the 15th edition of A Professor's Quest to Save Breasts. You can check out the flyer, obviously, on the show. And certainly if you wish to donate online, the link is now available. Also, all donations are safe, secure, and indeed tax deductible. Let's do our part, folks. Let's come out on Thursday night, October the 13th, and hopefully together we can defeat breast cancer once and for all. Once again, for more information, check it out there on the flyer as well as the link. Tell your friends, and let's partner up to help out the American Cancer Society during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And that's our show for this week. To check out all the excellent programming brought to you by the leader in independent media right here in Hudson County, the Hudson Media Group, check out their websites, www.hmgtvshows.com, as well as www.livestream.com/hmgtv, and also the Hudson Media Group YouTube page. Make sure you check out all my episodes of the 7-time award-winning podcast, Talking the Hudson, by always going to www.blogtalkradio.com/talkingthehudson. Recent guests have included HudPost publisher and founder James De Los Santos, as well as other local officials and journalists in the Hudson County area. New episodes will be airing later on this month. You definitely want to check it out once again at www.blogtalkradio.com/talkingthehudson. Make sure to like Talking Politics with Fernando Uribe via the Hudson Media Group on Facebook, and of course follow it on Instagram at Talking Politics with Fernando Uribe. Also, when you can, make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It is indeed the same handle, at the Fernando Zone, and certainly make sure you like me on Facebook. There are 2 pages now, Fernando Uribe and Fernando Uribe Jr. We all know how Mark Zuckerberg likes to pick on conservatives and sort of shadow ban us and make our lives very difficult when we're just trying to get content out responsibly and intelligently. But in any event, make sure you like both pages and follow it, of course, for all the content that you can see there every single week. Always remember, ladies and gentlemen, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it's always Talking Politics right here with the Hudson Media Group. I am New Jersey's premier and now 7-time award-winning journalist, top 100 Latino via the Latino Spirit online magazine for 2020, 2021, and now in 2022, and certainly the Garden State's most beloved and factually accurate Hispanic conservative, Fernando Uribe, saying so long, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of October. I'll see you Thursday, October 13th at Son Cubano for A Professor's Quest to Save Breasts. And as always, thank you so much for watching.